It's Veterans Day out there. Hopefully you'll take time to thank a vet and do something nice for a veteran out there. Unlike Salon.com, we actually appreciate those who have served our country, whether you're serving now or who have served. And joining me right now to talk about an organization that I thought was very important to talk about today is the executive director of the PTSD Foundation, David Maulsby. And David, welcome to the show. Appreciate you coming on today.
Chad, thank you very much for the invitation. We're very appreciative of being with you.
Well, tell folks a little bit about the PTS Foundation of America and some of the things that y'all are doing to help out our veterans.
Okay, well, the foundation is, of course, a nonprofit organization. We run support groups around the state and expanding to around the country for veterans struggling with post-traumatic stress. And I think one of the unique things about what we do is that we also have support for the families. And that's pretty unique. Some folks will talk about helping families, but we take the 3 o'clock in the morning phone calls when the veterans are lining up the meds in the way that they think's the most lethal way to take them, or they're putting the bullet in the chamber. That's generally when we get the call. So we do a lot of crisis involvement, but we do support groups, and then we have Camp Hope that we opened about 2.5 years ago, which is interim housing for veterans with PTSD, and again, for their families as well. We're really working hard to try to keep the family together. Yeah. If we can help the wife, the parents understand why their Johnny came home different than he left, then we're way down the road in helping everyone have a successful transition back home.
It seems like PTSD, and I mentioned this in the show earlier today, that it is something that is being discussed a lot more now than what it was 10 years ago. You hear a lot more about it. Do you see it the same way?
Yes. In fact, I'd even say 6 years ago, I don't know what the percentages would have been, but I'm just going to say they would have been a lot higher today of people who have never even heard the term or had just heard the term and couldn't give you the foggiest idea of what it actually meant. Today, there is a much greater awareness of the terminology, but there's a lot of misperception out there about what PTSD is. For instance, a year and a half ago, we had that last shooting at Fort Hood. I watched every major news program that evening when they announced when they found out who the shooter was. And within 30 seconds in each of those lead stories, they threw out the term PTSD, that he may have PTSD. Well, he may or may not have had PTSD, but what he did was not a result of post-traumatic stress. Post-traumatic stress leads to the statistics that we all are way too familiar with now of losing 23 a day, 22 veterans a day, one active duty troop a day to suicide. So PTSD leads to being suicidal, not homicidal. And that's where a lot of the misperception is about PTSD from Hollywood movies and drama.
Yeah, it's not
TV.
portrayed that way in the media at all.
Yeah, well, does the media ever get it right?
But you're right. I mean, you go back to the Fort Hood shooting, and it was PTSD. I mean, they were assigning blame already, without knowing any of the details. And you brought up movies, you bring up film. Yeah, that is the common thread that they all run with is PTSD.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want to get off on bashing the press, but it's an easy story. It doesn't take a lot of work, and facts are inconsequential sometimes. But the truth of the matter is, we are losing 23 a day to suicide, and that's 23 too many. And we don't, we're not of the mindset that we can stop all 23 of those, but if we can stop one of those or three of those and keep some little girl's daddy alive, then it's worth whatever it takes to make that happen.
Absolutely. We're visiting with David Maulsby, the Executive Director at PTSD Foundation, also Camp Hope down in the Houston area, for those out here in West Texas who are listening to this, and we have a lot of veterans who are listening, and families of veterans who are listening, what do they need to know about your organization? And maybe we have someone out there who is struggling, or they know somebody who is struggling, or they have a family member who is struggling. What do they need to know in order to get in contact with you guys?
Well, one thing, we have, of course, multiple ways of reaching us, but we do have a crisis hotline that is manned 24/7 by a combat vet who has been through our program and can help these guys and gals understand that, hey, we've been where you are, but we're in a much better place now, and you can too. And a lot of the crisis hotlines, who knows who you're talking to or what their background is. But if you reach out to us, you're going to talk to a fellow combat veteran who's been there, been through our program, and come through the other side. And that number is 877-717-7873. And our website, I encourage as many people who can, go to our website and get educated, become aware of what PTSD actually is and how you can get involved. And again, we're not the only game in town. It's not about us. It's about our veteran community and helping them make the transition home.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, that website's ptsdusa.org.
On your website, ptsdusa.org, there's a self-assessment test. Have you run into a lot of cases out there where there are veterans who they don't know they have PTSD? They don't know that this is something that's going on in their lives? All
the time. Typically, if we meet a vet and talk with a vet, it's in the realm of them coming to help us help other vets. Then they hang around with our guys for a little while, and they start seeing, hey, these aren't just a bunch of doctors saying, sit on my couch and tell me your troubles. These are guys that understand. They start opening up, and they come to realize, hey, these flashbacks that I'm having, these nightmares that I'm having, my inability to sleep at night, my hyper-anxiety, my fear of crowds, and I can't drive down the road without seeing a trash bag and swerving to steer clear of it. That's not normal. That's not the way it's supposed to be here, and I guess I do need help. So the PTSD self-awareness test on our website that you mentioned opens a lot of eyes. Many of them are shocked by how many of the symptoms that they have. And, of course, we aren't doctors here, but it opens an awful lot of eyes to see, hey, I have more issues than I realize I did, and I need to do something about it for my family's sake and people that I love.
Well, I think one of the great things about your organization as well is that you're also reaching out to the families and helping out the families, not just the vets out there.
Yes, and you mentioned we're in Houston. Of course, you guys are Lubbock. We bring people, veterans, families from all across the country to Camp Hope. We've had California, Oregon, West Virginia, Florida, many in Louisiana, all kinds of, everywhere across the country we've had vets come in. And we do, as far as I know, we're the only ones doing what we do for the family and providing housing for them while we work with them as a family unit on the issues of post-traumatic stress. We don't know of anyone else in the country doing that. And by the way, it's all no cost to our veterans, to their families, not a single thing they ever owe us for. We just want to do what we can to keep some troops alive, some veterans alive, their families together, and they've paid the price already. So it costs them nothing to come here.
Absolutely. David Maulsby, PTSD Foundation. You can visit their website, ptsdusa.org. Appreciate your time today and appreciate everything you're doing out there.
And we appreciate the opportunity, and I have to say this, Boomer Sooner, sorry for that. But
well, it's been one of those years for tech, so I don't know if
it's not a banner year for us either.
I don't know if that many people will be offended by that one. Hey, David, thank you very much, and we'll have you on again soon, okay?
Appreciate it.
Have a good one. That's David Maulsby, PTSD Foundation, Camp Hope, ptsdusa.org is the website.